Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday night. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have two very special guests with me tonight. But before I get all into that, let's do some housekeeping. If you are catching us live, drop a flame in the comments. And if this is the replay for you, put a purple heart down below. It's your girl, Jana Brown here, your mentor for helping you upgrade in faith, fitness, and finances. And today we're talking all about our health and wellness, in particular, peptides and the world of peptides. Let us know down below if you've heard of peptides, if you're like, como se what? Or if you're like, I think I've heard of them. Let us know down in the comments where you're at with peptides. Now, listen, I'm going to share some stories with you, but I've got Dr. Aaron and Tiffani Chapa here with me tonight, and they're going to get into the nitty gritty, like nuts and bolts of the science, which I am super excited for you guys to learn about. But let me just tell you really quick. Dr. Aaron and Tiffani, they've been married. How long have you guys been married?
Oh, I know the answer to this one.
Yay! That's good.
we just hit 20 years. And so the only reason I know that is because however old my oldest daughter is, I add just 1 year. And so I always know how old she is. So we just hit 20 years and we're very excited. Essentially, the same length of time that we have been married, we have been in practice. So it's pretty phenomenal.
20 years. And because you just posted that the other day. Yes, that's right. Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a huge milestone, 20 years. Most people these days don't even last 20 months. So congratulations but I know the reason why is because y'all have Jesus Christ as the center of both of your lives. And, so I know that's why you guys are so successful in everything that you do. So we're going to get into, chatting with you guys, but also we got a giveaway. We have a giveaway. So many of you.
Tell everybody about the giveaway. I hear there's quite a few people that have entered into the giveaway raffle. What are we giving away?
Yes, 62 of you said, you know what? I need to try a chance to de-stress with this stuff. So we're going to give away our peptide support product, Calm. And I have a little saying that goes, pour this in your mouth before you rip your hair out. Like, that's calm. So we're going to give that away. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about, your accolades, like brag on yourself. I know you've been in practice for 20 years, but you're one of 1,000 doctors in the country that do what you do. So tell us a little bit about exactly what you do. And I will say this before you get into that, I feel amazing. Now, I've always been a cross your T's, dot your I's kind of person, personal trainer for 13 years, retired, done 3 bodybuilding shows. Like, if it's going to help me feel better, I'm going to take it. I've always tried to get plenty of sun and, do all the right things. But I found myself like with some gaps missing. And since I've been working with these two, I feel so much better. My stomach is happier. My face, according to Tiffani, isn't as puffy. I'm like, yes, I have more energy. I mean, of course, the peptides are even working better because of your recommendation. So thank you for your help. But yeah, tell us a little bit about what makes you unique and what you specialize in.
Well, first, I think the simple part, Tiff and I've been in practice like I said, 20 years. And I got into this work of doing functional medicine because of a life-altering event. When I was 19 years old, people don't always know my story. They can go see, my story on one of my YouTube podcasts. But essentially, my dad died in my arms of a heart attack. And I watched his eyes bug right out of his head. And I remember not knowing, like, what to do. I was 19 years old, thought I had the world figured out. And all of a sudden I realized real quick, fast, in a hurry, I had no clue what to do. And it was very life altering. And so I went on a mission to find what was the cause of heart disease. And lo and behold, I've discovered that the American Heart Association's diet recommendations aren't accurate. They are inflammatory in nature. They are promoting and touting the wrong model, and people are getting sicker by the day. This, organization has been in business more than 100 years, and yet they still lead the cause in heart disease. And so my mission is to save fathers. That's why I got into practice. And what I've discovered on the way is that women have actually more heart attacks than men. And the symptoms just show up differently. And I found that people need coaching and guidance on how to navigate what to eat, what not to eat, what's inflammatory, what's not inflammatory, what's a never food, or sometimes food. And so we've been doing this work for 20 years, and we have been doing small group webinars, small group in the olden days where we'd go to like lunch and learns and sit with homeschool groups or business women's networking groups. And we were excited to share a message of health, wellness, and alternatives to drugs and surgery. And it has been an absolute wonderful career. And it's, unfortunately, I'll be in business forever because people are getting sicker because of the modern day choices that are being marketed to them as healthy alternatives, and they're not. And so we're on a mission to share truths about what is real food and how to create lifestyle modifications, just like you being in the personal training, the dude don't move, the dude don't groove space. You know what I mean? We love that you are a mover and a groover. People need to see that they need to and can take control of their health and well-being. And I always say, it's your life, it's your health, it's your choice. And so let's make a good one. And with the right knowledge, it just makes it a lot easier because you'll get results, you'll feel better, your body will perform better, and you can trust moving forward that life is much more fun when you feel good. Nothing feels as good as feeling good does. You know what I mean?
I think I was his biggest parasite case. So at 25, I had a baby. I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now because I went back. I lost all the weight after we did a functional program, and I think I cleared the board on parasites in my body. So,
as a matter of fact, it's interesting. Like she was my second patient, if you will, and the first one was a guy, at our school, and then she was next because they both had a similar situation. But her eczema was so bad she couldn't even bathe our daughter Kinley, and so her hands would crack and bleed. I mean, it was just really sad. I mean, she was only 25, and so no way that's going to work out. Yeah. And so, we discovered she had parasites through different functional testing methods, and we built her a protocol. She passed worms, and
it probably helped me too. I wasn't so
so, but what we've kind of deduced was that she was carrying these bugs and these bioburdens, since she had been 13, going on a mission trip, to Mexico. And so, people that have chronic fatigue, brain fog, people that have what I call symptom patterns that they weren't genetically born with, they can fix their health issues because anything the body can develop, it can undevelop.
100%. I love it. That is so true. It's absolutely true. I can't wait to dig in more with you guys. But let's go ahead and get our drawing out of the way, because I know we've got people on the edge of their seats. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. And then if you want to stick around, my friends, and, get some knowledge and upgrade, your wellness game with these two, then stick around. Okay. And actually let us know in the comments if you're going to hang around. Drop a thumbs up down below and smash that heart button. Let me go ahead and share the screen, add this to the stage. Okay. Let's do it.
The big wheel.
Yeah. Look at all these names. I'm so excited. Okay. Here we go.
Oh, this is exciting. What's about to happen? I'm getting on the edge of my seat.
It is Jean Beers. Okay, girl. Congratulations.
Rock on.
She's been a faithful customer of mine for like 6 years. Oh my gosh. Love you, girl. Congratulations. And then what I want to do, because I'm just feeling a little bit gifty, you got to hang around to the end though, but I think we should do a live giveaway at the very end. So hang on for that if you want to be a part of that. All right. So
Are we
let's get.
gonna give away another calm, or what are we gonna give away?
I haven't even thought about that yet. I'll figure it out by the time we get to the end. I just know I'm going to give away something at the end for those that watch the live and, stuck around and, because we have to high five those that are willing to learn about this, because not too many people are. There are so many people that are stuck in their ways, and there's a pill for every ill, and that's where they're at, and so we want to reward those who stick around and say, you're essentially raising your hand and saying, I want to better myself. I want to learn a little bit more. Right. And I'll tell you, I listened to one of your podcasts. You got to forgive me. I don't remember the gentleman's name that was on, but I was blown away by what y'all were discussing about. There is a biochemist that is hired to make our food as addictive as possible.
It's true.
I was like, what? Or to heal, like get the steel to heal, right?
Heal with the steel.
Heal with the steel. Like, okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, that was, I believe, Dr. Sean Baker, and he wrote the carnivore diet.
That's right.
And he's basically been carnivore for 8, 9, 10 years or so. And he basically was doing 7,000, 8,000 surgeries a year, and he was not satisfied with the results that he was getting in the surgical ward. And what he started finding through alternative medicine, through being open-minded, choosing, even though with his credentials, he was a successful surgeon. He saw people not getting the end result they wanted, even with the steel. And that's what he was essentially saying, is surgery is heal with the steel, the scalpel, and cutting the body. And it's really barbaric, the tactics that are done in our society today when people's gallbladders are getting taken out at mass warp speed. It's amazing to see the number of surgeries, or stomach bypasses for weight loss. And this is the most barbaric of all the surgeries that are being done. And we think that we can live without these organs. God put these organs in our bodies for a reason. And so God bless, Dr. Baker, for realizing and seeing that something just wasn't right. And he began to make shifts and changes. And he even said in that podcast that when he took this idea of just changing people's diets and wanted to teach his clients diet and spend more time with the patient, his hospital said no. And food is now not medicine. Food is not even a gift to the person. They're just like, heal with the steel. We make money when these rooms are full and you're cutting on people. And that did not set well with him. And he was an athlete's athlete. He has done great, things in his collegiate career with athletics, as well as his modern day, practice of, brain power and becoming a doctor or surgeon. But that wasn't the driving force. He really bought the model that he wanted to serve patients and build patients up and help them see that food is medicine. And the more we start digging into modern day marketing, the Rand Corporation, the Pepsi-Cola Corporation, these marketing agencies essentially figured out that if they could get you buying their product by 9 years old, they had you hooked for life. They had a customer for life. And so when Pepsi-Cola and the Rand Corporation and all these people are out there selling you, I bet you can't eat just one model of marketing, it's because it's chemically designed for you to not be able to be satisfied. It bypasses your satiation rate. Whereas most food has a law of diminishing return. You eat a slice of pizza and then sooner or later you're kind of like, okay, I'm tapped out. Right. Or I like the model, like, if you go to the movies and you eat 2 big old tubs of refillable popcorn and a Coke, you want another Coke and you can just keep piling it in. But if you ate 8 ounces of steak or 10 ounces of steak or 12 ounces of steak, you wouldn't even be able to potentially finish it. you'd be like, I'm satisfied. I don't want no more, because it's got a built-in governor on how much you're actually going to eat. But when you eat fake food, food that is chemically molded to bypass your natural satiation satisfaction ratio, you will continue to dive into a point of obesity, metabolic disorders, diabetes, inflammation-based concerns, autoimmunity. Name the disorder, and there's a root in food. And so when I was a boy, I was eating, no word of a lie, 8 to 9 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on Sara Lee bread and Peter Pan peanut butter. And I was 55 pounds overweight. I had high cholesterol. I had all kinds of health concerns that the doctors said he can't eat eggs anymore. He can't eat bacon. He has to be on cholesterol drugs. And I'm like under 11 years old. And so they were setting me up to be a cardiovascular patient before I was 15 years old. And so this idea of disease, guys, starts early. It's the disease process starts early. So we have to be aware that food is medicine. And so we want to teach people how to live better, be better, and stay better one bite at a time. You make a difference in your health choices by learning some basic principles about what is real food, what's make-believe food, what's sometimes food, what's never foods. And so we have gone on this mission, man, to help people understand that, unfortunately, a lot of the things that people are eating, they're eating because it's healthy, because it's marketed well, not because it's actually healthy.
That is such a good point. People are focused on the front of the label, not the back of the label, and they don't know to relate to that. When I first really wanted to get into nutrition, I ended up doing a food journal, and I gave it to the gentleman that was helping me at the time. And he took one look at it. Now, mind you, I'm like, oh, I eat great. Like, I eat so healthy. And he's like, bring me your nutrition journal. Mm-hmm. He took one look at it and threw it away. And I was like, oh, okay. And thus began, my journey. And, people just, I think, and let me just say, this is the reason why I wanted to give a box of Calm away. It's going to tie right into what you just talked about. I wanted to give Calm away because we are so overstressed in our lives between the economy, our job situation, kids, all the things that we have going on in our lives. We're so stressed. And unfortunately, that plays a role in our ghrelin, our leptin, our belly fat. And I feel like if I can just get calm into people's body and just have them, be able to manage stress and lower that cortisol, sleep better, get those leptin and ghrelin hormones regulated, right? They can start, okay, now I may not want to reach, right, for that junk. Okay.
Well, I tell people, if you want to be calm, cool, collected, the Calm is the way to go. Right.
There you go.
And so when you're stressed and cortisol levels start to go up, it changes your blood sugar. That's right. Dysregulates how insulin affects the body, and it causes you to reach for comfort foods. And then, and interestingly, when we're eating and reaching for these types of foods, it just continues the spiral. You reach again. And I'm the same way. Rest and digest comes through what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. And Calm, the ingredients in Calm stimulate those pathways so we can get a person calm, cool, collected. I just had a patient, literally, I didn't even know they bought the product, and they came in 2 weeks later and they're off their blood pressure medications in 2 weeks. And I said, what all you doing? And they go, I just got on the Calm, like you said. And I said, and that's it? And he goes, well, I'm doing the Energize and the Fit too. But he goes, I just wake up in the morning, I take the Calm, and it just regulates my day to go about my business. Yeah. And so sometimes people come out of bed stressed, and that's how what you just said is real. The stress of life isn't getting better. And people are waking up stressed. They're going to bed stressed. They're going through their day stressed. And when you're stressed running from the grizzly bear, you're not thinking about good food. You're not thinking about the fact that your digestive tract is fight or flight, not digestively enhanced. And the calm, the ashwagandha, the lemon balm, the GABA, the L-theanine, all that stuff helps the brain settle. And then so the quarterback now can regulate the world coming at it, no longer at 90 miles per hour, but at a regular speed limit for you to make good decisions and be what we call responsive, not reactive.
Yeah, it's an absolute game changer among them all. So transitioning, into peptides, let's kind of talk a little bit about how y'all got introduced to that. I mean, I know the story. But this is just the power of social media. It's really the power of, voice, and really for those watching, you don't realize how influential you are, and so I'll go ahead and let Tiffani kind of share the story and also share what the peptides have done for you personally. For me, I'll share my story in a minute, but I'm sure people are really excited to hear how this all came about for you guys.
Well, I think every day he comes home and I say, hey, how are the patients? Like, I want to know how they're doing, how they're feeling. Are they happy? What's going on? And, I did ask him a few months ago, probably 6 months ago, I said, are people taking that Ozempic shot? They taking the injectables, right? And he goes, well, yeah, some people come in and they're on them. And I said, because I'm thinking, functional medicine, the right way is we can do it a different way, and I'm thinking
a better way.
Synthetics, man, your body doesn't know what to do with them. They're probably great in the very beginning, like the acute phase, whatever, blah blah blah. But eventually, the body doesn't know what to do with things that aren't natural. They just don't. So that's why we try to get the natural things right. So anyway, that's our whole office. We're doing holistic from the earth, and then this came up about, and I was like, oh my gosh, this lean might be the magic pill. And I was like, maybe we have a magic pill, because everyone, wants a magic pill.
Wants the magic pill, right? So they're getting the magic shot.
Yeah, and a lot of times
side effects.
I'm like, no, it's not a magic pill, and it's going to take some time. And we're trying to get people on board on this lifestyle change, which doesn't happen overnight. But I mean, hey, some people come in and 2 weeks later they're like, this is the best thing ever, and always a change is good, right? But what I found was, I was like, okay, I think this might be something we do. And so I asked him, hey, is there peptides on the shelf? He goes, actually, there's not. I said, what? I said, we have everything. And then I said,
y'all do. Floor to ceiling, wall to wall, everything.
Right. And we know, I mean, I'm going to say he knows probably everything about functional, supplement brands and everything,
sure.
Like, and what the body needs. So, because we have nutritional deficiencies and barriers to healing. That's really the two things that we go to every time. So with this, I was like, oh my gosh, this might be what I call, because
I love it. This is my favorite.
I'm fun. I'm the fun one, right?
Yes.
And glitter to your cells.
Yes.
And I was like, maybe I could put jazz hands in there too.
Everybody loves, what is it? Sparkly fingers? What
Spirit fingers, I think.
Spirit fingers.
Okay, so all that's happening to your cell when you take peptides. Isn't that awesome? Like, to think of that, because I'm visual and I want to party in my cells.
And I will say too, just on that note, because people might not realize, trillions of cells. That is a lot of cells. And when you have trillions of cells that are broke down on the side of the road, so to speak, you don't feel good. It's like trudging through mud to get through your day. And so we're on, like, again, looking for how can we help a person feel better so that they are encouraged to get up and go do something better today. Uh-oh.
It's okay. It's life, girl. I'm surprised you haven't heard a dog and a bird in my house.
Well, and so, but if people can understand that they have trillions of cells that we have to nurture and repair and remodel and heal, if you don't have nutrients, you're missing the boat. If you have a barrier to healing, like an infection, it's a game changer. It will cause you to have symptoms. And so the coolest thing that everything for me starts in the gut. All life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition drives everything. The thing that I love about the peptides and what really I've always known, even about the injectables, I mean, they work, but the problem is if you bypass God's natural buffering system by taking a shot, you're asking for trouble every time. It's going to push the body beyond its limits, and it's going to cause something to break down downstream. The non-injectable peptides still have that ability to cross over the cell membrane and activate those trillions of cells.
That's
amazing.
So when she says they add sparkle to the cells, they put a polish, they put that vim, vigor, and vip, I like to say, back into the cell. That energy is what you need to remodel, repair, recover, to sleep well, to think well, to perform well. It is a win-win. And that's what really got me fired up when I was like, oh, I didn't know we had non-injectable peptides.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then really
as a resource that was available to people.
Right.
Yeah.
The technology of these peptides, I don't know if I can say it like that, they're natural, but is nothing I've seen before. I am like, this is different, right? But my story started with mind and motivation. I definitely have that creative brain, and it might be one of those squirrel brains. I like that better than saying, a diagnosis.
Right.
I literally can focus, and the serotonin and dopamine thing is, it really helps me, and it helps my daughter, who's my little mini me. And I was like, you better wake up every day, take 2 focused and energized, because you get your stuff done. And she goes, I know, it's changing my life. So she's 19. And so that's what it was. And then I was like, oh, can you take all 6 of these?
And that goes to answer one of the questions that a lot of my patients ask all the time is this safe for kids? And I've already seen, kids with ADD, be able to get off their ADD medications, not use these types of stimulants, and leverage the peptides. And again, because they administer easy. These are in liquid drink, guys.
Yeah.
They're easy to come in. They taste delicious, and the calm is a pixie stick. And people that tell me they can't swallow pills, well, this solves that problem. And now we have a very easy introductory way to get the body and the cells to begin to align. And when that alignment happens, we always like to say, when we're talking leadership and stuff, shared goals build unity. Well, if you've got trillions of cells getting in a line, standing taller, making the salute, saying the prayer, going through the process, beginning to work synergistically together, it is an absolute game changer for the health and well-being of our kids and the development of them, or balancing women's hormones, or strengthening the gut lining and overpowering the fact that they are addicted to food. And we've got to break that addiction. This helps bypass those addictive practices and help lifestyle change.
And there's something about momentum. When you take a step into the health world, and maybe it is just one pixie stick of calm, you actually start making better decisions, because that follows. You go, oh, well, maybe I need to choose and not eat the fried food. I was eating fried food every day. Of course, my hands were broken out. I didn't know. I was like, tortilla chips, they're not fried. So I ate those every day. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was thinking I was doing good on eating fried chicken.
That's right. So fried is definitely a misnomer, right? A potato chip is fried, guys.
A true Southern girl's diet, right?
So I love what you just said, though, Tiffani. That's so good, because, I'm taking myself back to when I was 50 pounds overweight, and I couldn't imagine, in my mind at that time, and I'm sure people can relate to this, is you think you have to go from where you're at to salads and shakes. It's there's not that happy medium. And so it's setting people up to fail, and what you said just now about just taking a calm, right? So it's maybe there are some people out there that they're not ready to go from one extreme to the other and follow a strict, nutrition plan and, try and cut all these things out. they can take the lean and the calm, for example, and it's like, okay, if I can remove the stress, then I'm not going to stress eat, right? But if I can take lean with it, then that's going to start taking my cravings away, because everybody is doing the best that they can, but they're still wondering why they're struggling. For me, for example, I got started in July is when I got introduced to the peptides, 42 years old at the time, and felt like I was doing all the right things, and I just thought, this is just the way it is. At 1:00 in the afternoon, I know I'm going to hit a wall. I know I'm going to want more caffeine or sugar or a nap, like something to just stimulate the brain to like want to keep going through the day, right? And then at the end of the day, I kind of giggled inside when you mentioned popcorn, because that was my comfort at night. I would get a bag of the movie theater butter popcorn, dump all the ranch seasoning that I'm talking.
That's intense.
Sir, I'm telling you. And I'm fairly fit, you know what I mean? But and I'm going outside and putting my feet in the grass and trying to get the morning sun. I'm like, how do I increase my dopamine? And for those of y'all that don't know, dopamine, that's your on switch. That's your motivation. That's your go-go, right? And then your serotonin, that's your happy. And I didn't have either around 1:00. And it just made my life, it impacted my business because I was struggling to be productive. It impacted the way I treated those around me, because I was moody, because I was tired, because you know what I mean? It's a domino effect, and it ripples across your life, even when you're trying to do the best that you can, right? And so you have a choice to either start with one product, like Tiffani said, or for me, I am kind of a rip the Band-Aid off kind of person. I can handle an overnight lifestyle change. So you can choose, how you want to approach your journey. But let me ask you this, all that to say, why does someone, okay, let me go back. Why wasn't that working for me? Why was I stuck where I was at? Like, because obviously the peptides have fixed that, right? Day one of the peptides, focus like a boss. I've been the happiest I've been. I don't know how long. I've got no problem getting things done. I'm motivated. I, dropped 2% body fat, gained 2 pounds of muscle. Like, my whole life has changed because of these peptides. But why wasn't what I was doing before the peptides enough is my question for you. Why does someone need peptides in the first place? And then also go into a little bit about what they are.
Well, so first, just remember, describing just the story that you had is you were working out, which gave you this false sense that you earned ranch popcorn. You know what I mean?
Oh, how did you know that?
I've been down this road a little bit myself, you know what I mean? And I've heard the stories, right? Like, people really do reach for junk food when they, quote unquote, like, exercise well. I have people in my life that I have worked with and watched them. They train well. They discipline that hour, but they don't realize what you eat is important, but what you don't eat is more important. So you were putting in more foods that were fueling the craving fire, which essentially was putting you into a stress place that created a deficit. And that deficit was only served by, as you were looking for, dopamine. Dopamine comes through chocolate, comes through sugar, comes through fast acting results, something that gives me a hit right now. Yeah. Whereas serotonin, like you said, is that happy joy hormone that is sustained. But we live in a very dopamine driven world. We are dopamine addicts. We're looking for stimulus to be entertained through the TV, the internet, the swiping of our phones, the blue lights, all these different things. That's one then you've got food, then you've got your pleasure. When you win the lottery or you have a tragedy, your body goes through a stress response, and it's the exact same stress response. And we were never designed to live in a world where we have such high stress and high cortisol all the time. And so what's happened to our people is the cortisol levels are going up, and it's destroying the gut lining. And so you're really looking for a hit of dopamine to kind of just make you feel a little better but it's only short-lived because it's false energy. Where one of the things I love about what the peptides are is you can have the worst digestion on the planet, or you could have the most barbaric surgery, the stomach surgery, and the peptides are literally already pre-digested. So you don't have to do this digestive part. So I was just working out the other morning. I realized I always say this: digestion's the most violent sport on the planet. Okay. So, and what I mean by that is you are digesting, right? You are absorbing, you are assimilating, meaning manufacturing neurotransmitters. You have 3 million more neurotransmitters in your digestive tract than you do in your brain. And you're excreting, you're getting rid of what you don't need, all in the same tube from mouth to hind end. You're just a giant tube. And so technically, the gut lining is so busy doing so many things, we have clogged it up. And the peptides have the ability to bypass the traffic jams. They can run the shoulders. They can get straight into the cells and activate the mitochondria, which then brings alignment. And then when one cell turns on, another cell turns on, and another cell turns on. And then all of a sudden, you have this whole conglomerate pool of healthier cells lighting up like a Christmas tree. And then all of a sudden, they look over and go, wait, there's a zombie cell or an old cell, a worn out cell. And that guy's over there spewing out its guts. It's sick as a dog. Let's get rid of that. And so the healthy cells, shared goals build unity, start to go in and pluck out these unhealthy cells. That's what the peptides are doing. They are helping target the synergy that Tiffany's talking about, that bringing that one little step in the calm or the fit or the energize into the mitochondria of each and every cell, where you're producing cellular energy money. And those cells turn on, they start communicating, and literally they become your advocates for better, healthier cells. They don't want to hang around dirty, rotten, old zombie cells that are spewing their guts up. You all right? So literally think of that green emoji that's vomiting, right? That's a zombie cell. If you've got a bunch of zombie cells in your gut lining or throughout your body, your liver, your lungs, your heart, your brain, all that slows you down. And that causes you to be in a state of what's called accelerated aging. The peptides pull you back into a synergistic cellular health state where parasympathetic activity begins to happen, which is rest and digest, healing and repair. So why it wasn't working for you is because you were, and look, no judgment, we've all been there. You were reaching for comfort foods, which was actually driving the zombie cells team. You're feeding one camp, the good guys or the bad guys. Yeah. And sugar is a destroyer. Excessive foods that cause or turn into sugar is a destroyer. Yeah. And when you start getting cells to light up and get healthy, with the Energize is one of my faves, with the Fit. The cells just do this. They just get stronger in an instant. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you don't have that pop and drop. You don't have this sustainability. And now you're not reaching for the popcorn. Nope. And all of a sudden you bring in something like lean, and now you're not craving everything under the sun. And so now you're walking away from the old way of living, and you don't even realize you're doing it. And that's what's so fun in lifestyle change, when you make health happen without you even realizing you're changing. And that is why cell signaling is so important. And what peptides do is they go right into the cell, they signal it, turn on in such a beautiful way that even if you have the worst digestion on the planet, I can still help you.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. If you're loving this, smash the heart button and drop the word love in the comments.
Love.
Yes, all the things. And share this as well. Share this on your page. I know a lot of people need this. And I think the world is ready. The world is ready for a change, and they want change, or they wouldn't be injecting themselves. You
That's
know what
right.
I mean?
That's right.
They want it. They just don't know what they don't know. You know, and everything you said was so spot on. I'm just like, oh my God, that's exactly how my life was. Every single day, I would have this kind of spike of dopamine in the morning from, you know, working out or, you know, even checking my phone. And then it would just, anyway, I'm a whole entirely different person. And so same with my dad. You know, my dad is 76 years old. And I mean, he would, you know, without like saying it, I mean, he was really down in the dumps mentally without saying the word depression. I mean, he just said, he was like, I'm not motivated, you know, to do anything anymore. And, you know, he went from doing everything to just like needing, like having so much to do, but yet no willpower to get it done, you know, and really, really tired, you know, struggling with, you know, poor eating habits, you know, all the things. And since he's been on these peptides, he is a whole different human being. I mean, he has got motivation. He's looking for things to do. He's happier. You know, his mood is improved because when you're, you know, when you're exhausted, you can't be your best to everybody. Like fatigue and stress and all that. Like you can't possibly be all that God's called you to be when you feel that way. And so now, y'all are going to love this. We might talk a little bit about this, but now since he's been using the peptides, and I told Tiffani this earlier, she may have already told you, but he's considering carnivore. I'm so excited. So I've been on the peptides for a while. Right. You know, obviously I've had, you know, great results. In fact, if you've had great results on the peptides, please drop your testimonial in the comments. But I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, Tiffani, my stomach is jacked. Like, I don't feel good. I'm afraid to eat. And she was like, we need to do a liver detox. We need to do a heavy metal detox, and we need to do carnivore. And at that time I was like, okay, I'm ready. But it took me a while, right? When she first told me and recommended, I was like, girl, you are crazy. But I'm blown away by how I feel. And during the process, the peptides have buffered the effects of the detox drastically. Absolutely. You know, with keeping the dopamine there. I mean, I've had some rough days, but during those days, I'm like, oh my God, I just can't even imagine how my life would be like trying to do this without the peptides, you know, because when you detox, it can drain you, especially when you do it my way. I'm like, give me everything I need, you know, versus like, you should probably baby step. I'm like,
that's
nope.
the healing crisis, right? No, for sure. I remember when I started and I would always say, that's why I like to say, like, what you eat's important, but what you don't eat is more important. And there is no outperforming sugar. Sugar will destroy you, you know?
Right.
And again, what camp are you going to feed? But what we have learned in practice, and this is why Tiffani said, you know, all you do is the calm, all you do is the fit, all you do is the energize. If those 3 powders, that was where you get your, you know, your spring, that momentum does carry benefits to your willingness to walk around the block for your good health. Yeah. Your willingness to walk past the donut 2 or 3 times a week. Right. Where I had this one gentleman that I got on the Energize and Fit, and I have him now doing intermittent fasting. He's not quite ready for carnivore. And guys, this is not a, you know, a carnivore speech, but it is we want to bring like the peptides into the story, because it gives you that motivation that you're looking for, momentum, to make one more degree of change, one more degree of health change. And then we can start having real conversations about like, okay, are you the person like you, Jana, who wants to do it all? Or are you a person that wants to take baby steps? And both are okay. This is a marathon living, you know what I mean? The sun's going to be up tomorrow, and we're going to be, you know, sharing this message. I think for me, you know, I'm slower to kind of get excited about stuff. But once I started seeing like the ADD and the blood pressure, and then the intermittent fasting guy, because this guy was anti-pills. He wouldn't do anything lifestyle. He was telling me for over a year and a half he needed to come see me. And finally, one day he just had enough. And he shows up. And he showed up because he was in pain. And that conversation led to just one little seed, and watering a seed. And then, you know, probably an answer to his wife's prayers, because she was telling him he needed to come in. And that led to, he was willing to put a powder in his drink. And
easy nutrition.
Easy nutrition, man.
Easy
Cell
nutrition.
signaling at its finest. And then that led to a second conversation where he was willing to intermittent fast. And now we're into a program, and it's going to get better. This person is making leaps and bounds, strides. And I'm just like, wow. And then the blood pressure story, man. How many people have blood pressure and don't have answers? You know?
Oh my gosh.
And so when you start putting the right nutrition in and you bypass all that inflammatory garbage that you're fighting, that will lead you to a place where you're willing to change. And when you're willing to make those harder changes, like diet, like we always joke around, we can talk religion, we can talk finance, we can talk politics, but heaven forbid you want to start talking food. You know, you're going to start
That's so true.
I'm going to punch you in the nose kind of thing. And I'm like, whoa, easy. I'm just the messenger here, you know?
I'll probably have another piece of cake in my lifetime, right? Like there's things that I'm going to do, but I know
it's
when
a controlled
to do things,
substance though, right?
Like I'm going to do the right thing. But like, he knows me, right? Like, I'm going to have a birthday again next year.
And that's something to,
I don't need 2 weeks of cake.
That's right. You don't need two. It's all about, it's a controlled substance, right? So if sugar was introduced into our society today, I always tell people it would be a controlled substance. So treat it as such. Recognize that it's one of those things that you cannot do on the regular. But once again, like I said in the beginning, nothing feels better than feeling good feels. And so I want people to experience this. And that's why I really got excited about the peptides, because so many of my patients come in day one and their digestion's wrecked.
Yeah.
And how do you get quick cell, what I call feel good medicine happening in its finest, using the peptides, because it's advanced beyond what you have to do on your own digestive wise. It can go straight into those cells uptick, turn on, and get all fired up and excited. And then so do you. It shows in every step, every conversation, every response instead of reaction that you have throughout your day. And instead of having that drop at 1 o'clock, hey, that's kind of rhymes. Did y'all see that?
I love all your little phrases. I'm like, I need to remember that one.
At 1 o'clock, you better drop some energize in your stuff.
I'm going to come up with new ism, peptides.
I love it. Chapaisms. You know, I mean, there's no shortage of stories. In fact, if you're curious about the testimonials, just drop the word results in the comments and we can get you added to our Facebook group. We've got over 28,000 people in our Facebook group. And so you can scroll for days and check out these testimonials. They are absolutely mind-blowing. I'm going to share one of my personal favorites. So I have a friend named Keith who crushed his wrist in a diving accident and a long time ago, and for years have suffered with nerve pain. And he said it would get excruciating at night. And he was having trouble closing his hand, couldn't feel, he had no feeling in the tips of his fingers. And after drinking Fit, that nerve pain went away, starting to close his hand, feeling the end of his fingers. Now, listen, we can't make medical claims. I'm just saying miraculous things are happening with these products that are absolutely mind blowing. I have another friend, and that her name is Lisa. She was in a car accident for a very long time ago, but suffered such debilitating pain from this accident. She thought she would be disabled for life. She thought she would never work out again. Mind you, she's in her 50s. Like, she's still got 40 more years left. Can you imagine? She's taking 8 to 10 aspirin a day.
Oh my gosh.
On top of her prescriptions when she needed it. Day 3 of Fit, none. She's in the gym. I mean, she told her story on a call one night, just bawling. Her face, like she has a side-by-side picture of her face. I mean, her face, she looks like she, took years off of her face. Like, can you just talk about Fit and how that works? And because if I asked you to, what would be your number one, like, most recommended? Like, if a patient said, if I just need one, what would you recommend? And I have a feeling it'll be Fit. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
it would be Fit. And you kind of nailed it with those two testimonies. What Fit does, it is essentially, it has your vitamin D, it has B vitamins, it has the magnesium. So it's got your like building blocks for soft tissue muscle development. So instead of things, the average female right now is losing between 1.5 to 2.5% of muscle after 40 years old. And this is a problem. So when you hear stories of people having falls in their later years, it's not necessarily because the bone broke and they fell over. It's because the instability of their core, their musculature over those years when they should have been paying attention, they didn't have somebody, chewing on their ear saying, you got to take better care of your muscles. And here's a great powder to do it. And what happens is the people say right now, for example, vitamin D is not even a vitamin, it's a hormone, and it's cell signaling at its finest for the immune system, for brain function, for cardiovascular function, and of course for mineral absorption and delivering nutrients to their destination. But it has so many cool benefits. And when you look at fit, I kind of look at fit like it has the ability to go inside the cell fibers. So if you think about your friend Keith, who had the hand crushed, he had scar tissue in his tissues. And so what the fit does in my mind, trying to see into the matrix because of, it's got the natural, caffeine from the coffee bean, it's blood flow. And so it can get blood down into those deep tissues and rake out that nasty scar tissue. And then you've got the different aspects of the peptides. Once I rake out the garbage, it's like now I can oxygenate the soil. And then you come in with the actual metabolic matrix of the peptides that fit is, which is essentially the fava bean. And that then comes in and delivers nutrients. Itself is a nutrient right into the cell that was just cleaned out. And so I kind of look at it like in the Bible, it talks about when one, demon is cast out, if you don't fill that gap, 7 more will come back, right? So essentially, if you look at a piece of scar tissue that's restricting the muscle from being fully functional and how God designed it, if I can put in good nutrients after I rake out the garbage, those cells want to heal and recover. And it's all about blood flow and it's all about cell signaling. And so when you come in with the peptide matrix, I think there's, what does it say? Like 3,000 milligrams of amazing in the peptide formulation that allows the cells in those traumatized areas, which, by the way, the body stores toxins in the joints. So as we age, if you have arthritis, which I call arthrongus because there's nothing rightus about it.
Oh my God, that's good. I'm gonna have to remember that one too.
It is the fit will go into those cells of the joint capsules and clean them out. And so now if you can get movement, full motion again, if the dude don't move, the dude don't groove. So now all of a sudden we get full power back into the joint. Little by little, it will start becoming stronger and stronger. And the nervous system just needs 2 things. It just needs good fuel and good stimulation. So if he was restricted, or the lady with the car accident, if she was restricted, she's essentially not moving because she's hurting and her body's in pain.
Right.
And so what the fit is doing is the vitamin piece is helping the delivery, and then the peptides are the recovery. And then the coffee bean is the blood flow, oxygen delivery mechanisms, and you're getting all this resource to troubled areas that are hard to reach because they're in the distal part of the body, away from the vital core.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, I can move my hand. All of a sudden, I can stand up and sit down. I had this lady that came in just in a wheelchair about, I think, 6 weeks ago, and it took me 30 minutes to just move her around the table because she was in so much pain.
Oh my God.
I kid you not. She has been on the Hydrate. She's been on the Fit. She's been on the Calm. Those 3. That's it. Because she's an older lady, and she is,
baby stepping her. You're baby stepping.
Absolutely. She came in today, and she's lost weight. There's no bloat, and she moved around the table. I mean, you can't imagine. Like, for me when I'm telling you, it took me 30 minutes to get her in and out. I was like, it could have taken easily an hour if I would have figured out how to adjust everything, but she couldn't even handle that. I was adjusting things on this lady that haven't been adjusted in years, which means that nervous system's getting that stimulation. And it's because the fit is her like security blanket for making sure those cells have a chance to restore themselves back to ideal health. And then when you bring in the calm with it, now you've got parasympathetic activation. So we're going to have her off of, depressive medications, I imagine. And again, to your point, we can't make claims, but what happens is people start feeling better and they start thinking better. And then they go, oh, what else can I change? What else can I see? And that's lives change, guys. And that means we're empowering the departure of the elderly. We're empowering the departure of all of us that in our middle-aged years. And we're even giving life and opportunity to the youth who are essentially inflamed and overridden with processed inflammatory foods, because we're giving them better, easy nutrition. I do love the idea of some things. It's nice to have an easy button. You know what I mean?
So it is, and most people have to start there.
Yes,
because
that's great.
Like I'm that person. I'm like, can I make this easy?
Yeah.
And I know that about myself, and I know there's other people like me out there. So that's this is perfect. And then you know what I'm doing? I am taking other things, and I am eating better. Like you know what I mean? I'm cut out the sugar. And
I will say one other thing, because this happened. This was a question somebody came to me today with, is they were worried that they couldn't take the peptides because of they were on antidepressants. And I said, no, listen, these are essentially nutrients that your cells know how to use. They're not drugs. These are just going to activate the cells to be more synergizing with the other trillions of cells in the body. It's actually going to make you stronger and give you a chance to get off those drugs, which when you go to a doctor and they put you on an antidepressant, you're not getting off of it. There's no intention for the doctor has to take you off of it. Now you think in your mind's eye, well, I'm only going to be on this antidepressant for a little while, this anti-anxiety for a little while. But listen, man, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, and I can tell you, people come in on not 1, not 2. I've seen as many as 10 psychiatric medications. And of course they feel loony bin. Of course they feel crazy, because their body is psychologically deranged with drugs. And so you have to eat. And so when the brain, and the gut are so messed up, I can use these peptides comfortably and help people navigate, their situation and move them out of a bad place into a place of hope. And essentially that's all I want to give people is you don't have to stay sick. You don't have to stay broke down. You don't have to age on the accelerated aging curve. You can heal well, and you can live well, and you can be well. And it just starts with simple nutrition.
It does. Oh my gosh. And I love that, Tiffani's tagline is, health into the hands of many. And I just love that. And you're right. I mean, it's so easy to just, pour something in your water and be done. Right. And I have a friend right now who's so excited for his mom to get started. She's my dad's age, and, she's kind of, you can just tell in the mood, the mood drops. And I don't even know that it's so much stress. I guess, a lot of things just kind of decline as we age, especially if we don't exercise, especially if we don't continue, to do that. But it's fun whenever you have friends who are like, okay, like I can't wait to get this for my mom. Like who do you know right now that could use these peptides, right? Like think about how it would change your family, with you starting, and then, your mom starting, and just how it can just spread and really change the game of life for everybody. And that's why I wanted to.
One more quick little nugget of information. So not to step on, but it fits. My mom's 77, and my mom and I have, I would tell you that my dad was the spark for me getting into health and wellness.
Right.
But my mom is the fuel that has driven me to be where I'm at. She is a trooper, man. She has done every diet. She's taken all the supplements. She's taken all the shakes. Yes. And at that point, guys, like who do you know? Because I am excited to get peptides into my mom's hands, because she is 77, and the average right now, the centenarian age. So the people that make it to 100, they have a 1970s study going on. It's like an ongoing study that people that make it to 100, they study them and they're looking for essentially common threads, lifestyle practices and whatnot.
Okay.
And they say that their best years, the people that made it to 100, their best years are between 65 and 95. So to me, like, if you're not, we're babies. That means we still got tons of life. But then we have an opportunity to take care of these people that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s that don't feel like this. And so I want to encourage people, like, you deserve to feel better. And I want to remind you, like, by Christ's stripes, you're healed. And my dad always used to say one thing, that God gave you a brain, he expects you to use it. So you've got to what Tiffani is, talked about this morning, is that you have to surround yourself with people that believe you can be healthy, that you believe you can be stronger, and that will help you on your journey of well-being, because how we think, how we live, how we take care of our bodies, how we move and groove all matter. And so if your body is not performing like it's supposed to, man, I'm so excited to see my mom at 77 still flying to Florida to see my brother and sister, and going and running errands with us, and us, we run her pretty hard, I think, and so I say that because it's the principles and practices of life. And I think these peptides are going to take her to a whole new level. And I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, she just ordered her. So we're excited to see.
Yay!
So both of our moms are trying them this month. So we're excited.
That is so exciting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, my dad is like a whole new person, and he was at a wedding and my aunt was there and she was like, Glenn, what are you doing? Like, your skin is glowing. And he was like, I'm just drinking the peptides. So guess who ordered her fit last week?
Come on.
Yeah, she was getting the NAD injection, like the IV drips, the NAD. And she's like, it's expensive. I got to go twice a week. And, she's like, oh my God, you mean I can just put that in my water? And, she's in the gym all the time. Like, she's ripped up. And I'm just like, yeah, girl. So it's like, even when you're easy nutrition, more affordable, right? So excited to get her started. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And I'm going to have you close it out, with just final words, final piece of advice. If you haven't already, though, make sure you subscribe to Dr. Erin Chapa Wellness, or Dr. Chapa Wellness on YouTube. And then also, here's where we're going to do a subsequent giveaway, okay? Text your name and one thing you learned tonight to 832-307-0331. And I've got to give away some Energized. I mean, that one right there is right. I mean, that's the one that changed me the most. I mean, maybe I'll surprise you and do some half Energized, half fit. I don't know, but at least some Energized. For me, that's been the game changer. It's helped my mood. It's given me clean energy all day, help with my dopamine. I'm crushing my to-do list. I'm motivated every day. Like, I love it so much. So that's your assignment. If you want to get entered to win, text your name and one thing you learned tonight to 832-307-0331. And how about we do this? I want to give time for people to see the replay. How about we come back Wednesday night for Wellness Wednesday? We'll do the drawing. Maybe perhaps we'll have another discussion if you're available, but we'll give people a few days to get entered into that. But final words, and we will close this meeting up.
Good.
I feel like, I don't know, this peptides are fun and I'm enjoying it. And I mean, I don't think he's ever seen me jump into something like that.
Well, I would say from a testimonial perspective, even in our house, I think that it is somebody that is hard to get going, hard to be not necessarily motivated, but just definitely. And I hate that.
Faster in the morning.
Yeah, I see her more often as I'm leaving for work, which is really cool. But I would say for me, one, share this message with friends, family, loved ones, and do text 832-307-0331 to because I want to know what you learned. I want to know what you want to talk about next. Like, what question really do you have? What are you really concerned about? What's stopping you from choosing your life, your health, your choice, and wellness? Because you deserve it. You're worth it. We believe in you, and we know that we can help you. You are designed by God, and every tissue, cell, organ, gland in your body wants to heal. Give it the right nutrition. Get enrolled in the right community to understand that, like this is fun. Like, feeling good is fun.
Yes,
and,
it is.
and people don't realize that if you have symptom patterns that you weren't genetically born with, you can reverse any of those situations. And we know that all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition drives it all. So be blessed. Have a great, day, weekend. And I will check. And I think we could probably twist my arm. I would love to come back and see.
Yes. If you'd love to learn more from Dr. Chapa and Tiffani, please, drop the word more in the comments. But look, I have put their link in the description below, so you can browse and shop. If you want to go ahead and pick up some peptides, you're welcome to do that. We encourage you to do that. But you can also, again, for customized peptide recommendation, you can drop the word info. In fact, this is my business line. So you're welcome to text, any questions. Of course, you can drop those in the comments as well. But yeah, I would love to continue this series and just, see where it takes us and how many people that we can help. And, you are worth it. And I want you to think about how you want to look and feel at 80 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm 43. I'm not sure how old you guys are that are watching, but I want you to ask yourself, can you stand to feel the way you feel today another 10, 20, 30 years?
Oh,
and that right there is something. I'm not a personal trainer, nutrition coach anymore. I retired, last year, but for 13 years, I preach that to my clients. I'm like, you've got to make decisions today that are going to help you achieve that quality of life that you want by the time you're 80. And if you're like me and you were exercising and you were grounding and you were trying to, look in the sun in the morning and you were crossing your T's and dotting your I's and you still don't feel the way you think you should, then that's when peptides can come in and be your BFF. Because I'm totally life changed, but it's for real. And, you can start small. And even if it's not peptides, even if it's just, okay, I'm going to commit to drinking, 50 ounces of water today. I don't believe in that whole 100 gallon. Like, if you're struggling, let's start with 50, right? And then we can habit stack, right? Or stack on that. But bottom line is start somewhere. But you guys, thank you so much for your time tonight. This was so much fun. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right, everybody, peace out. Have a fantastic